Hey everybody, it's Andrew back again with another video, and today we have a look at a 16-inch laptop that sports a mini LED display running at 165 hertz. Yeah, it's a pretty nice one. MSI sent it over. It's the MSI Prestige 16 Studio, and it's great for content creators because not only does this have the 13th gen Intel H series processor, the Core i7 13700H, but it also has the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4060 discrete GPU. So if you do things like video editing, Lightroom, Photoshop, this is going to be a great laptop for you to check out. Also because it has this mini LED display. Now this display can get as bright as 1000 nits in terms of the peak brightness. I'm seeing about 500 plus nits in standard dynamic range, but with HDR, you can get about 1000 nits of brightness. It's so bright, I have to turn it down to about 40-50% most of the time. Now the laptop is a really nice design. We're going to get into the all metal build, and we'll get into the performance, battery life, and everything else we normally do. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the MSI Prestige 16 Studio here for 2023. Coming up. Now, before we get to the unboxing, I just want to let everyone know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by MSI. I'm not being sponsored by MSI. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. MSI is not getting copy approval. They're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this unit is on loan from MSI, and once this review is done, I'll be sending it back. Pricing for the Prestige 16 Studio comes in at $2,099.99 over at Best Buy. Pretty decked out. You get the Core i7 13700H, the RTX 4060 GPU, 32 gigabytes of RAM, 2 terabytes of SSD storage. For those interested, I'll drop a link in the description below for more information and where you can buy one. And with the specs and pricing out of the way, let's find out what you get inside the box. Okay, we get some pretty nice packaging here. It says Prestige Series on it. Pretty nice presentation so far. Opening the lid, you're greeted by the unit itself. We're going to get to this in a moment, so let's put that to the side. But let's see what else you get inside the box. You get a quick start guide, and then, of course, you get your power charger. Now, if you go with the RTX 4060, you get a 150-watt power charger. That's what we get here. If you get the 4050 GPU, 120-watt charge is what you get. It uses a barrel pin connection, and they give you the power cord as well. Now, holding the unit for the first time, I'm impressed with this urban silver finish. It gives it a nice look, of course, pretty understated, pretty classy. And this has an all-metal build. It's aluminum, and I think it's pretty rock solid. I saw a little give and flex in the chassis, but nothing to be alarmed about. And checking out the keyboard for the first time, actually pretty good so far, pretty good tactility, pretty good feedback. We'll talk about that later in the review. Now, as far as weight is concerned, you're looking at about 4.7 pounds, just the laptop alone, or 2.14 kilograms or so. And then if you add the travel adapter, you're looking at about 2.56 kilograms, or about 5.64 pounds. Okay, let's check out the port selection. On the left side is your power port, 2 USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 ports. First one does support charge, the second one doesn't. And then, of course, you get your kill switch for the webcam. That's always really good. Moving over to the right side is your 3.5mm microphone headphone combo jack, a micro SD card reader, a full-size USB-A port, and finally an HDMI 2.1 port, which supports 8K monitors up to 60 Hz and 4K monitors up to 120 Hz. Not too shabby. Now, I do want to point out that those two USB-C ports are not Thunderbolt ports, not available on the mini LED model, and I did ask MSI. This was a cost-cutting measure to keep the price down, so they had to sacrifice somewhere. No Thunderbolt support here on this, ladies and gentlemen, not on the mini LED model. Now, before we get back to our regularly scheduled programming, let's hear a word from today's sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by Best Buy, and once again, I've teamed up with Best Buy to bring you top deals here for May 2023, and I gotta tell you, some of these savings are gonna be pretty great. You can save up to $500 on select Windows laptops. Let's get right to it. Now, first up is one I reviewed on this channel. It's the HP NVX 360, the 2-in-1 convertible, coming in at $799.99. That's $300 off, so that's a pretty good savings right off the bat. Next up is the Microsoft Surface Laptop Go 2. It's a 12.4-inch clamshell device. That one comes in at $599. That's $100 off the initial asking price of $699.99. And sticking with the Surface theme here, Microsoft is offering the Surface Laptop 4, the AMD Ryzen variant, with that Ryzen 7 Surface Edition for $899.99. That is $300 off the initial asking price. And of course, it wasn't offered last year, so this might be one of your last chances to get it. I would jump on it if you're in the market for that laptop. Now, for those of you that have been on the fence regarding the Surface Laptop Studio, here's a great deal. $500 off the initial asking price of $3,100. Here you can get it for $2599.99 over at Best Buy. Again, I think this is a good one if you are a content creator who wants that extra oomph that this will provide. And for those in the market for a Surface Pro 9, here's a good bundle for $999, which includes the Signature Pro keyboard cover here. That's going to save you about $280. That's pretty good. Now, for those of you that want a ThinkPad but don't want to break the bank, Best Buy's got you covered here, offering the ThinkPad L13 Yoga Gen 2 2-in-1 convertible for $599.99. It's hard to pass up a deal that good. And for those gamers out there, here's a really good deal for the Asus ROG Zephyrus 15-inch gaming laptop, $1,099.99. That, of course, is $520 off the initial asking price. That is a steal, in my opinion, considering you're getting the Ryzen 9, the RTX 3060 discrete GPU. And here's another good deal, the Lenovo Yoga 7i 2-in-1 convertible, the 14-inch, $849.99. That's a really nice deal, $200 off the initial asking price of $1,049.99. And current generation here, that's pretty good. Now, there are even more deals I couldn't get to, but I'll put links for everything in the description below. And again, head on over to Best Buy for these top deals for May 2023. You don't want to miss it. And I want to thank Best Buy for sponsoring today's video. Now, to get inside this laptop, you need to remove the 7 Phillips head screws. One in the middle is below a sticker. You're going to have to break the sticker to get to that. Remove the bottom plate with a guitar pick or a pry tool, and that's it. You're in. Pretty easy. Now, once inside, you'll notice the 2 fans for cooling. We'll get into the thermals and the surface temperatures later on in this video. And then you'll notice the battery. We'll get into the battery life as well. But as far as the RAM, that is soldered into the motherboard, and that, of course, is not upgradable by the user. They're using LPDDR5 RAM running at 4800 megahertz. This has 32 gigabytes of RAM, although you could get it with 16 according to the specs. So my unit does have 32. It's working well in dual channel mode for those wondering. Now, as far as the SSD, it is a 2 terabyte PCIe NVMe SSD storage here. And with these very fast reads and writes, they are certainly Gen 4 speeds we like to see here in 2023. Now, the wireless card is user upgradable. That is slotted in. That's always good. It's using Wi-Fi 6E with a Bluetooth 5.2 combo card here, and that has been working well in terms of the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth. No issues on either front. Okay, let's talk about the star of the show, and that would be its 16-inch mini LED display. We're not talking OLED here, we're talking mini LED, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's got a 16:10 aspect ratio, a QHD plus resolution, 2560 by 1600, and it is running at 165 hertz, so you get the really smooth scrolling, the very fluid experience that comes with a high refresh rate. Now, of course, this does have some really deep blacks, some excellent contrast, really good color accuracy, and it also covers the color gamut really well, as you can see from these numbers. So if you're a content creator and you want to do Lightroom, Photoshop, video editing, color grading, this is a panel you can definitely rely on. It will get the job done. It's a gorgeous display, and watching high dynamic range content on this has been superb, especially because it has a peak brightness of about 1,000 nits. So when you're watching that high dynamic range content, I actually had to turn it down. It was too bright, searingly bright. I had to go to about 50% brightness. When you're watching standard dynamic range, you're about 500 or so nits, and that's still bright, and that's certainly definitely one of the strong suits of this panel. So really kudos to them for using a really gorgeous mini LED display. Now, of course, I didn't test for anything like blooming or any other effects we saw on the MacBook Pro and stuff like that. I didn't really notice it that much on this, but again, I didn't have it that long. I'll have to do some further testing, but my overall takeaway on this mini LED display has been excellent. I like watching high dynamic content on it. Like I said, on Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, it actually worked out really well, and it's been great for content creation. So this is the camera on the MSI Prestige 16 Studio laptop here for 2023. Pretty impressive, especially with that 16-inch mini LED display with the high refresh rate. But this, of course, is a 1080p camera. It's 30 frames per second. It's also an IR camera. That means you can log in with face recognition. There's also a fingerprint scanner located on the keyboard deck. That allows you, of course, to log in using your finger. But what do you think about the video quality? What do you think about the audio quality of the mics? Let me know in the comments section below. Now, when it comes to performance, this is going to be a good laptop, especially when it comes to content creation, things like Photoshop, video editing. It's going to do okay with it because it's got Intel's 13th gen processor here, the Core i7-13700H. That's a 45-watt CPU. It has 14 cores. That's 8 efficient cores and 6 performance cores. And as you can see from the single and multi-core performance here, definitely doable here. Definitely some of the really good numbers we like to see, especially out of this 13th gen processor from Intel. And when I ran the Cinebench R23, which accounts for any kind of sustained workload, heavy sustained workload, to account for any thermal throttling, you're going to see it did well in both the single and multi-core performance. So this is a very good laptop, as I mentioned, for content creation. For everyday use, you're certainly going to get a lot of use out of this. Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, it all worked well. And again, video editing in Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve is certainly aided by the fact that this does have the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4060, capped at 55 watts. So just keep that in mind. Temper your expectations with that GPU, although it will give you a graphics performance boost. Now, I wouldn't categorize this laptop as a gaming laptop per se, but you can play some of the games, obviously get some playable frame rates thanks to the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4060 discrete GPU. Again, this is going to be good for those certain titles. If you lower some of the settings, just depends on what you're looking at here, but you definitely get some playable frame rates on some of the more popular titles. So just keep your expectations in check when it comes to the 4060. Remember, this is limited to about 55 watts of total power, so you're really not getting the total maximum power capable in that discrete GPU, but it definitely certainly helps when it comes to graphics performance and some gaming. Now, when I tested it to see if it will thermal throttle under heavy load, I ran the Temps stress test and it got a passing score of 98.4, meaning it detected very little, if any, thermal throttling. So really maintained good clock speeds even under heavy load. Nice. And as far as the surface temperatures are concerned, it got about 60 degrees Celsius a couple of places, 55 on the underside. So definitely warmed up, but never overly hot, never too hot to the touch, but something to keep your eye on. Again, it did get a little bit warm there, a few hot spots here and there, as I mentioned. And when it comes to fan noise, under heavy load, definitely noticeable, reaching as high as 60, 61 decibels, which is quite noticeable. Really got loud there at some points. But really, when you're in the balance mode, doing everyday tasks, I didn't find that the fan noise was too much of an issue. But again, under load, you will notice that fan noise reach, again, 60 decibels. That's pretty loud. Okay, let's talk about the battery life, and this sports an 82 watt-hour battery. That's a little bit less than the XPS 15, which has an 86 watt-hour battery, and it certainly did less in terms of the battery life. When I ran the PC Mark 10 Modern Office battery test, it did 8 hours and 13 minutes. That's about 2 hours less than what I got on the XPS 15. So not class-leading in terms of the battery life, that's for sure, as far as a 16-inch laptop is concerned. So don't expect to get all-day battery life. It just depends on what you're doing. Again, 8 hours and 13 minutes is not terrible, but it's certainly not groundbreaking either. So just keep that in mind. Now, for those wondering, yes, you can open the lid with one finger and the screen goes back 180 degrees. That's been pretty good. The hinges are on pretty good. I didn't see any screen wobble when it comes to typing. Pretty good in that regard. Now, when it comes to the keyboard, I found it pretty comfortable for typing, although a little bit on the mushy side. It still had decent tactility and decent feedback, and it was comfortable for typing long documents or emails. It actually worked out well. And for those number crunchers out there, you do have the numpad. It's a little bit narrow, and I'm not sure if I like the format. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. One consequence of that, of course, is everything is moved off center. So let me know what you think about it, again, in the comment section below. It also has a nice white LED backlight on it, allowing you to get work done in a dark room or a dimly lit environment. It worked well. Now, as far as the precision touchpad, I thought it worked out really well in terms of that touchpad for two-finger scrolling, all the gestures, everything worked out really well, very responsive, no issues on that front. Now, as far as the audio is concerned, this sports two 2-watt speakers. They're high-res audio certified according to the specs, and they have the DTS sound effect on them. And I gotta say, I'm not that impressed with the speakers. I'll show you an example in a moment, but it just didn't have enough bass as far as I'm concerned. It sounded a little bit tinny, especially for a 16-inch laptop. Now, let's compare it to a 14-inch laptop, which is certainly class-leading. That's the MacBook Pro 14 that we think obviously is going to be the best in class. Just to give you an example of just how good that MacBook is, we're going to compare it to this one, and this one just couldn't hold up to the MacBook Pro. But you be the judge. You let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's give them a listen. Okay, people, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the MSI Prestige 16 Studio here for 2023? And I think if you're a content creator who wants to do Lightroom, Photoshop, video editing, and needs a really great display, this certainly will come through for you. That 16-inch mini LED display is certainly stunning, especially with 165 hertz refresh rate. It is one of the best displays I've reviewed so far on this channel. It's that good. It's competing with the likes of OLED, and it is so bright, folks. I had to turn it down to about 40 to 50% most of the time because it was hurting my eyes. It was that bright. Performance was very good. I didn't detect any thermal throttling. The negatives, of course, soldered RAM, no Thunderbolt support, some flex in the chassis, loud fan noise under load, and the speakers sounded a bit tinny, could use a little bit more bass. And my overall takeaway is MSI did a really solid job here, and the star of the show, without a doubt, is that 16-inch mini LED display. It is pretty stunning. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.